In order to build any considerable form of wealth in Canada, we must all use our registered accounts as efficiently as possible. There are still lots of us who still make many mistakes when it comes to RRSP accounts. In this video, let's look at some of those common mistakes that people are making even today. Hopefully by the end of this video, we all know what to avoid and what to take advantage of. Let's begin. First, real quick, let's revisit what the RRSP is. The RRSP, or the Registered Retirement Savings Plan, is a retirement savings and investing vehicle that allows Canadians to save for their future on a tax-deferred basis. Contributions to an RRSP reduce your taxable income, lowering your tax bill in the contribution year. The investments in your RRSP grow tax-free until you withdraw them. This typically happens in retirement when most people are in a lower tax bracket. Basically, there's an account where you can save and invest tax-free until retirement when you're most likely not working anymore. As we look at some of the RRSP mistakes, we'll touch upon some specific elements of this account. You can also treat this video as a refresher for this account. Let's move on to the mistakes now. Mistake 1. Not understanding contribution limits. The first common mistake is to avoid misunderstanding your RRSP limits. For 2024, the limit is 18% of your earned income from 2023, up to a maximum of $31,560, plus any unused contribution room from previous years. You should also know what happens if you exceed this limit. If you do, you will incur a 1% tax penalty per month on the excess amount over $2,000. This $2,000 is a grace amount allowed by the CRA. Basically, at any given time, you should not have over-contributed more than $2,000. To avoid this mistake, always check your notice of assessment or log into your CRA account to verify your exact contribution room. Other than that, you should also do your own calculations to cross-check with the CRA amounts. Mistake 2 is not understanding deadlines. This is important to understand to not miss the RRSP contribution deadlines. The contribution deadline is not 31st December of any given year. It is typically 60 days into the new year. For example, for 2024, the deadline is March 1st, 2025. All contributions should be made before this date. Any contributions made by this deadline can be deducted from your 2024 income to reduce your taxable income. This can potentially save you a significant amount in taxes. If you miss this deadline, you could lose the opportunity to claim the deduction for 2024 tax year, which could result in a higher tax bill. To avoid this mistake, make sure you plan your RRSP contributions well in advance. The best way is to dollar cost average and set up auto transfers to your RRSP account. Mistake 3 is not investing contributions. This might sound obvious, but there are a lot of people who contribute to their RRSPs but fail to invest it. Often in a rush to meet the contribution deadline, people transfer money into their RRSP and forget to invest it altogether. The biggest problem with this is that you're missing out on tax-deferred growth and the power of compounding. To avoid this mistake, make sure you not only plan your contributions but also plan what you want to do with the money. Having a well thought out plan is the best way to win in the long term. Talking about making investments brings us to mistake number 4, that is overlooking investment options. Another pitfall to avoid is limiting your RRSP investments to a narrow scope of assets. It is important to diversify your investments to mitigate risk and enhance returns. Different financial institutions offer a variety of investments, and it's important to choose those that align with your long-term goals and risk tolerance. Never restrict yourselves to the funds offered by a single bank or institution. I often come across people who are stuck with one bank and unable to really diversify their portfolio. Talking about that brings us to mistake number 5, that is having only one RRSP account. While having a single RRSP account simplifies management, it can really limit your investment options and flexibility. Diversify is a key in investing, and having multiple RRSP accounts with different financial institutions can provide access to a wider range of investment products and advice. The single most important thing when it comes to having multiple RRSP accounts is to make sure that your total contribution in these accounts do not exceed your total RRSP allowed limits. Also, a lot of accounts may come with additional fees, so make sure you also keep that in mind. To avoid this mistake, make sure you consider your investment goals and figure out what kind of assets you really need access to. Mistake number 6 is ignoring tax implications. Contributions to your RRSP are tax deductible. That means that you can gain immediate tax savings. If you're failing to contribute to your RRSP, it means that you're giving the government more money than they need from you. Also, you're missing out on the time value of money, which comes in the form of compounding. As they say, $100 today is more valuable than $100 tomorrow. Also, you must always consider the tax implications of making withdrawals from your RRSP. Any withdrawals from your RRSP are taxable. If you expect to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, RRSP can be a beneficial tool for tax-deferred growth and income in retirement. On the other hand, if you expect to be in a higher tax bracket in retirement, other investment vehicles might be more tax efficient right now. We'll look at the implications of withdrawals in a bit. To avoid this mistake, you should always consider what tax you want to pay today and plan for what kind of taxes you want to pay tomorrow. Before talking about withdrawals further, let's look at another common mistake, that is not leveraging employer contributions. This is a very common mistake that significantly impacts your retirement savings. Many employers offer RRSP matching programs where they match your contributions up to a certain percentage of your salary. This is essentially free money that can significantly enhance your retirement savings. This really annoys me because there are lots of people who are not making use of the employer contributions. When they hire you, they account for this in your pay. Please do not leave it on the table. To properly benefit from this, you need to contribute at least enough to your RRSP to receive the full match offered by your employer. Again, failing to do this is like leaving money on the table or getting underpaid. To avoid this mistake, make sure you understand your employer's matching program and make sure you're contributing enough to at least maximize the match. The next mistake is making withdrawals for wrong reasons. Another common mistake that people are making is withdrawing money from their RRSP for random reasons. Early withdrawals are subject to withholding tax and are also added to your income for the year, potentially pushing you into a higher tax bracket. Additionally, you also permanently lose this contribution room. To avoid this mistake, always treat your RRSP as a long-term investment vehicle. If you really need money for some emergency, consider other options such as your TFSA. However, there are some things to consider when it comes to withdrawals, which brings us to mistake number 9, that is not making withdrawals for the two right reasons. There are two specific reasons why you could be withdrawing from your RRSP. The first is the home buyer's plan and the second is lifelong learning plan. These programs allow you to borrow money from your RRSP without immediate tax consequences, provided you return the money within a certain time frame. The home buyer's plan allows first-time home buyers to withdraw up to $35,000, which must be returned within 15 years. Also consider the lifelong learning plan if it applies to your education. If you qualify for these programs and are not using it, you are basically missing out on beneficial opportunities. Moving on to mistake 10, that is not using spousal RRSPs. Overlooking spousal RRSPs can result in less efficient tax planning. A spousal RRSP allows the higher earning spouse or common law partner to contribute to the RRSP of the lower earning spouse or partner. This together can result in a lower combined tax rate in retirement when the funds are withdrawn. This strategy is commonly known as income splitting. It's extremely beneficial for couples with a significant disparity in income. This may not apply to everybody, but if it does, make sure you do not overlook this. The last three mistakes are less about the RRSP and more about your behavior. Starting with mistake 11, that is being overly risk averse. In general, you should always consider your risk tolerance when it comes to investing. A mistake that can undermine the growth of your retirement savings is being overly risk averse. For example, overly focusing on fixed income investments like bonds or GICs might not yield enough returns to outpace inflation or to accumulate the necessary funds for retirement. This is why a lot of people recommend investing in the S&P 500, especially when you are younger. To generally avoid this mistake, consider a well-diversified portfolio that includes a mix of asset classes, adjusting the risk level as you approach retirement to protect your accumulated savings. To avoid this mistake, always consider your time horizon and also maintain a diversified portfolio. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, hit like and consider subscribing to my channel. Mistake 12 is a basic one, that is not having a financial plan. This is a very common mistake and I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's extremely important that you have a well thought out plan that includes your RRSP contributions as part of it. Not just that, you should also have a specific plan for your RRSP contributions. Figure out what you want to do with it, where you want to invest it, and how long do you have to invest. Without a plan, you may not save enough, miss out on investment opportunities, or fail to adjust your strategy as your circumstances change. By the way, I have this video on how to make a simple financial plan. Consider checking it out. This brings us to mistake 0, that is starting too late. This might be the most critical mistake to avoid when it comes to your RRSP, and that is why I called it mistake 0. The power of compounding means that the earlier you start investing, the more time your money has to grow. For example, let's consider two individuals who start investing $200 monthly. One starts at the age of 20, the other starts at the age of 30. The first one has 45 years to grow their money until the age of 65, while the second one has 35 years. Let's consider the average annual return of the S&P 500 over the years, that is 10%. By the age of 65, the first individual has over $1.8 million in their savings, while on the other hand, the second individual barely has $700,000. A difference of 10 years created a difference of over $1.1 million between the two people. And this is why starting early is so important. If you did not start early, it's okay. It's also okay to feel a bit bad, but what's more important is to stay consistent and stay the course going forward. As they say, the best time for you to invest might have been 10 years ago, but the next best time is today. So there you have it, folks, a simple list of RRSP mistakes to avoid. Make sure you are avoiding all the mistakes that apply to you. I'll be back next week with a new video. Till then, keep learning and stay on top of your finances. Until next time.